Good morning everybody and welcome back to another video where today, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are just over 1 week away from the release of the first official LEGO Legend of Zelda set number 70092, the Great Deku Tree. And whether you've pre-ordered it, or you're waiting for Christmas, or won't be buying the set at all, the landscape of Zelda will be forever changed. No longer will we need to make Links or Zeldas from miscellaneous parts, as we'll have new molds, a Hylian shield and so much more. But it's also safe to say that we'll see so many new mocks, animations, artwork, photography and just crazy projects. Hopefully even more people attempting stuff like custom sets and large scale builds too. So as we stand here, and as my personal LEGO world is about to completely change, yes I am feeling a little dramatic today, I want to shine a light on why LEGO Zelda is so special to so many people, so many of you. And to do this, I want to share a whole bunch of creations that you lot and others have made in the LEGO Zelda space, with a particular focus on builds and other media that perhaps goes underappreciated, to prove once and for all while this great Deku Tree set, this partnership and this fandom, however small it was over the last 20 years, is still one of the best things, one of the good things, and holds a special place with me. So, let's go see some creativity, shall we? So I actually want to start with a couple of pieces that were not submitted to you by you guys, and a bit of a history lesson if you will. Over the years, me and some other creators have been tracking down as many builds as possible and trying to compile them to keep this kind of information safe. And surprisingly, we actually track all the way back to the year 2000. So to start with, I'm going to take us over to a website known as Brickshelf to take a look at a couple of really old builds. The first one here is actually from the year 2000, and as far as I'm aware, the oldest online published LEGO Legend of Zelda build that we can find. And you may be a little bit skeptical of this, but it is tagged as Zelda and as Hyrule Castle on the website. And so this is a build of Hyrule Castle, and you can see that it is very clearly built out of someone's imagination here, because it is using all kinds of multicolored builds, bricks. I actually really like that this is the oldest, as it feels very natural, very human in a way. I don't know, it feels poetic that it's not some super large or accurate thing. It very much is from potentially a child's imagination, and I really like that. It still has those key elements that we'd be looking for, such as like a courtyard, gatehouse and such, but also it reminds me of the Castillos playset from Spain, which was a knockoff or off-brand license that they had for Ocarina of Time to make a not so accurate looking Hyrule Castle. But anyway, there's just little elements of that there. But I really like how colourful this is, and I appreciate the effort that went into it, and it clearly shows how Zelda's been able to inspire people into doing stuff, playing those games and then trying to turn those stories into real life or onto the brick form. Similarly, we actually have quite a few others from Brickshelf from the early 2000s. I haven't dated these, but I have put a link to the page of like the Zelda stuff on Brickshelf in the description so that you guys can see it. The next one is actually built by the same person, and it's a Link's house build from Ocarina of Time. Of course, this just came in the set, and well, we can clearly tell that there's been a big difference in pieces. You can see a lot of the recognisable elements. We've got an octagonal shape making great use of palisade brick pieces. You've got the bed where you can see a very early purist Link. I think he's using the Forestman hat, which is really cool to see, and then he's got all these trophies and stuff around it. I think, just judging by the time plan, it's definitely Ocarina. I suppose it could have been considered Twilight Princess. It's hard to tell with these old photos, but they are all dated as well. Again, felt appropriate to bring this one up given the new set that's coming out very soon. Jumping all over the place though, we have King Dodongo from Ocarina of Time as well, making use of a printed piece that came on a Star Wars, I believe it was a Geonosian fighter, and it's just a small brick-built creature, but again showing how creatures cut from the Zelda universe have been coming into LEGO form since basically the dawn of time, the dawn of the internet. We also have this brick-built Octo, and he is very blocky but also very cute. Again, it just shows people's desire to take these characters and builds and get them as either desk displays or stuff to play with. What I like about this one is I think it's using a minifigure glass or chalice in red for the mouth, and of course dish pieces for the suckers on the legs, which is cool. We have this one as well, which looks a little bit like found footage, and I do appreciate the, what is that, Coca-Cola in the background. And this is just a pixel art Link, but he's obviously just, yeah, it's people's homes, right? It's not all professional, and I really like that that it comes across as stuff that was played with, or just stuff that people did because they were really passionate, not just because they wanted views or anything. I think that's really cool, that this is the origin of our stuff. And moving forward slightly, we actually have Fire Temple build. This was listed as, you can see here, this one's obviously in the 2010s because we're using the Series 5 Godzilla suit to represent Los Alphos here, and actually we've got some custom parts here as well, because the bow is using a big curvy element that's clearly not Lego, but that's fine. You've got all these different flame pieces, including bionicle ones, and this one rings true for me in that regard, because it is the construction of a dungeon, which is actually what I started trying to sort of make and turn into Lego form back when I was much younger, where I was trying to make my own dungeon experiences. And we've talked about that here before on the channel, and today's not about me anyway, but this one hit home as well, just the idea of trying to bring those moments into Lego form, and you can see that encounter here. But it wasn't just builds, of course. Figures have been a staple, trying to make our Links and Zeldas and Ganondorfs, and here is an example of that using paper. So all these torso decorations, I believe, have been done with pieces of paper that have been coloured, and then I think the hairs have been done with clay, or at least Link's hat's been done with clay. Ganondorf and Zelda's hair is just actually painted, the Harry Potter hair for Ganondorf, who looks really sweet. Actually, I really like that, it's cute. He also has shoulder armour, 3D shoulder armour, which is nice, and then Zelda's using the Qui-Gon hair in yellow as well. I like the faces too. It's a lot of fun. Custom figures have come a long way. To think that back in we would not have had 3D printing. Bionicle actually made a strong featuring in these early days as well, because they just gave us more unique shapes. This was back before a lot of the curved elements. So here you can see I want to say Gali, but it's a unknown master of water from Bionicle being used to create a shape on Navi, and then some other very large blade pieces. Either way, very cool. Actually using lots of different Bionicle and Technic pieces there to kind of create shapes. Just something a little bit different, something we don't really see anymore. And of course this one here, this one's very famous, at least if you were around with Lego Zelda in the early days. This was one of the tentpole mocks that existed, and it's just a brick built Link. This one again coming later, probably 2010, 2013, probably just before Ideas, using a spatula on your Hylian shield, tan ball joint for the neck, and just has some great shaping. And again, character sculpting has come on a long way too, but even then, this one still looks absolutely fantastic today, and I have fond memories of this one. I think this is one I remember. Actually, going backwards though a bit, just again another Hero Factory Bionicle build. Here we have a Link and Ganondorf. Link looks fantastic. I'm not so convinced with Ganondorf's head, but his armor and stuff looks great. My favorite part here is the Master Sword, which actually uses the Hero Factory logo, which is cheeky. Yeah, that's all the Brickshelf ones I had to take a look at. Now we talked, obviously this is like old history, like Zelda mocks that were actually made in the 2000s, but one project I stumbled upon more recently, well, still a couple of years ago now, is Pixelperfect's faux 1980s titled In a Better Timeline, which details the idea of what if Lego had partnered with the Zelda franchise in the 80s when the first game came out, and actually makes Lego models in the 80s style. So here we have Link with an Octorok, and you can see we're using those classical parts. I mean, the elf ears is a little bit more modern, but you can see that maybe that's something they would have considered doing. You've got the old sword and this beautiful Octo using this simplistic printing that would have been featured back in the day. That's how they would have done it. So I think that's really, really cool, and it has that really retro grit to it that I really appreciate, and obviously the handmade backdrops as well. Not done by Pixelperfect, but here was another attempt on that, Link versus Goma Dungeon, which again tries to capture that 80s and 90s aesthetic, to imagine that what if scenario in a better timeline, right, where Zelda and Lego were around forever. And I think this is so cool. This is an idea, and I really love how authentic to 80s Lego these sets are, and how simplistic but yet characterized and recognizable they are. That's really, really cool. I'm a big fan of that work. So again, there's a link to all of these in the description, so you can check out Pixelperfect's Reddit post there. Actually, again in this style, we're thinking about Zelda 1, we've got the NES Adventure Kit, which was an Ideas project, again more recently. This one was unfortunately killed at about 4,000 votes, as Zelda was removed from acceptable licenses on Lego Ideas. This project was done by briangreen. You can go check out the page, although it's worth mentioning that this page won't be there forever, because Lego Ideas does eventually remove expired projects after about a decade. We've still got another 9 years, but we'll come back to that later. But yeah, this is another fantastic model. I really like the sort of cheapification, digitalization of the pixelated characters, specifically the 3 links here, but just such a love letter to Zelda 1 with so many little Easter eggs, and of course that golden cartridge, which is something I do have planned for the CSS as well, actually, which is interesting. But most of you guys are here to see what this community has created, so now that my history lesson is out of the way, let's take a look at some mocks that you all sent me. First up here we have the Wind Waker Darknuts and Mighty Darknuts by Superminister. There will be a link to his Rubrickable page in the comments, because he does indeed give out these instructions for free, which is amazing. Now, before Superminister reached out to me and actually submitted this for this video, I had actually discovered this mock on my own, and I was a fan of this design. I think it's excellently done, really well scaled in comparison to a minifigure, with great swords and shields and a really great use of the tile between plates technique, which is no longer illegal, to create the fin shape and makes the helmets look really good. But beyond that, they're actually pretty posable for models of this size, and the photos he's got here of them dueling look fantastic. Putting them together and all you're really missing is a sticker on that shield. I also really like and appreciate that he took the time and detail to put bar pieces on the back to represent the cloth, like the string that you cut through when you rip their armor off. While this isn't like a physically built-in play feature, you could still imagine it, and I just really like that kind of layered play is included in a model like this. The models are one I intend to build one day using his Rubrickable instructions, and I highly recommend you would too if you guys are a Wind Waker fan. But a great first submission for us. I'm really pleased that they chose to reach out, because as I said, I was already a fan of the work, so a great build here. Next up though, we have one from Billy Bob, who is also a fellow YouTuber on the platform. Again, there'll be a link to his channel in the description. And this was a couple of different builds here. We had some lovely pixel art featuring Link in his attack pose from his NES days, and stabbing into an Octorok. These are just 2 super iconic enemies, and I think I would imagine really cool to have these on your shelf and around. So that's one styling, but here he didn't stop there. We also have his purest Link here facing off against a Darknut based again off Wind Waker here, but in grey this time, which is really cool. Specifically here, I want to shout out the Elf Warrior torso from 2022 CMF Series 22, which actually makes a great torso for Wind Waker Link, and I think that's a really inspired part usage. We've of course got a Highland Shield and a Sword, which I believe are custom molded as well, and I really like the horns in here. But beyond that, the Darknut also has some posability. Beyond the ball joint arms, the hips actually have the ability to swing forward so that he can like attack with a sword, which is also really cool. Again, this wasn't it, because we still have one last build, which is sort of a Bokoblin base from Breath of the Wild. A couple of details here. Of course, the purest Bokoblin is notoriously hard to do. He opted for sort of like the right shaping but keeping the printing out, which is absolutely close enough and does a really great job. But my favourite part here is definitely the tree build. I really love the representation of the skulls on the side. We've got the treasure chests at the back, and also the vines and sort of teeth hanging from the tree branches is a really authentic detail that really adds to the model, specifically that rope, vine rope as well. He also included 2 Koroks here in the set with this version of Link, which is awesome, using the 2x2 design, which we've seen here on the channel, but also plenty of other people have used, and I'm sure that Billy Bob will be excited to see maybe official Koroks as well. But this works absolutely amazing in the meantime. So again, link in the video for this one. A really nice variety that we've had so far. Then we have some builds from Alejandro, and these are also ones inspired by the channel. Alejandro reached out and said a shout out to both me and Hylian Bricks for the inspiration here, and you can see those shining through with making great use of the parts that he has available to upgrade characters like his Yonobo here, who has the lovely gold and silver chains around him. Seems to need a support to make him stand up, because he's a little bit top heavy unless he's on studs, of course. But he looks absolutely fantastic, and all of these characters are so recognisable. We've got our Tears of the Kingdom Link as well, and then behind there we've actually got my marbled Goma, which is being reverse engineered from my video, which is really awesome. One of the first things I started doing in the Lego Zelda space was re-engineering builds that perhaps I should have been buying instructions for, and while I don't get Goma's instructions out there, it's really cool to see this working so that I can get my own Goma instructions out there for the rest of you. But I'm really impressed that he managed to do this, which is really cool. I love watching build reverse engineered, and it just proves that Goma does work in real life as well. Separate from that though, we have some more character builds. These ones more inspired by Hylian Bricks, where we have Sidon here and Tulin looking very cheapified, which is awesome. And actually we have a shrine here as well, which has a swirl build around it, which is really cool, using the plate stacking technique. And again, I don't see many Tears of the Kingdom shrines, so this one looks awesome. I also really like the sculpting on the dragons that goes around the back of the shrine. I don't really have many negative things to say today, guys, I'm sorry, so it is going to be just me walking you through these mocks. But let's keep on moving, because I do have 20 submissions today. We have a submission here from RD, who has built a wonderful Hyrule Castle. It's certainly the largest model we've taken a look at so far, and has a lot of those details that we'd all expect to see from Ocarina of Time perfectly recreated. Not to mention paying a little bit of a cheeky homage to the Smash stages, if I'm not mistaken, the Ocarina's Castle stage. So we've got the drawbridge here, which can come down, and off to the side you've got the bit where you can enter by waking up Talon with the chicken, and actually we've got the Malon tree here, which I do really appreciate as a side build. I think that's really, really cute. I really like how this sort of combines different aspects as well, and I can see a technical lever that I'm pretty sure opens up something as well. Of course, what also stands out here is the figure selection. Not only do you have 4 Hylian soldiers, but a fantastic purist Ganondorf, making great use of some Shima parts and Ninjago ones. A purist Link who's using the snake element for the head there from Ninjago. Not one I've ever thought of using, but works surprisingly well. We have a lovely Malon and Talon, an Impa, young Princess Zelda, and then the King and I think Queen, although that may be adult Zelda as well. And then a whole bunch of accessories, whether it be skull toolers, the slingshot, heart pieces, a song element, which is really creative. I didn't think about using those troll pieces, but that's amazing. The Triforce and Ocarina of Time as well. Another hairpiece, who I believe may be for our Link figure. And then of course the Fairy Ocarina too, and a Zelda's horse as well. Like, it keeps on giving. This build goes on forever. I'd love to see if there was an interior here, but it's an impressive model to get to this size. And as I said, I love the references that have come together here. It's really, really awesome. And you can tell that he's done absolutely everything possible with the parts on hand, which is great, because not every mock needs to go and buy hundreds of specialized parts like you see big ones do. It's all about the small scale stuff and showing what Zelda means to so many people. So that's really awesome. A build from a slightly more recent game now, we have the Light Dragon from Captain Finn 64, who is an Instagram creator who will be again linked in the description. I believe also has a TikTok as well. So let's take a look at this build. It's an absolutely massive Light Dragon. This was sent to me just before we released the Demon Dragon Duel, which featured my Light Dragon on the channel, and you can tell that this is in a completely different ballpark. Absolutely incredibly sculpted model to try and really show off the scale of these dragons in comparison to a minifigure. And because you don't have those playsets limitations, boy, those details go and add so much more to this model. You can see that some of these large crystal elements from Ninjago Crystallizer being used in blue along the back for the sort of crystalline spikes. You've got the horns and the shaping, and then the eyes being done with all the dished pieces with the teeth elements for the eyelashes. It's been a really tricky thing. I often stated that the Light Dragon's head would be an incredibly difficult model to do, just because of how delicate you have to be with the shaping here, and I think this one captures it nearly perfectly. You've got the mane flowing back and these ears on ball joints, of course, with the Master Sword in the hilt for Link to hold on to as well. But that's not all, actually, because this model does include a special feature, as underneath the chin, hidden by the mane, you actually have a spot to hide Zelda, just like we showed in the set. But of course, he had this one first as well, which is awesome. It's really, really great to see features included even in a model of this size, because it just adds more to the display, and there's a little bit of an Easter egg as well to show, well, who this dragon really is. We also, of course, have the snout here with so many teeth, and the body itself is built with a really rounded off technique. You can see Link here flying above with the, I believe it's the Majora's Mask paraglider actually, and you've just got these golden cheese slopes to try and show that ripply effect. Going from large model to large model, we have another one here based off, well, just a Zelda staple, right? The Master Sword. Who doesn't want a life-size Master Sword to chuck around? And this one here has been created by Joshbrickworld, who, again, a link to the Instagram will be placed down below. This sword is massive, and doesn't it just look impressive to wield around? You can see that the details are not only complete on the front, but also on the back, and it all locked together using a variety of tiles. The jewellery in the hilt is, of course, really outstanding, using great use of those curved elements to sort of create the gemstone there. But my favourite detail has to be the use of the pyramidal pieces to recreate the etching of the Master Sword on the sword. I always love seeing the Triforce insignia that are on these iconic items turned into real life and turned into Lego builds, and that is super clear here. So well done, Josh, for that. It looks absolutely incredible. Please go check out his Instagram as well. So okay, Octane, people like to build. Well, that's not all, as the stories and worlds of Zelda have lit sparks of creativity in animators and artists alike. A tool of expression, one might say. And thanks to Brick Wizard Studios, Hylian Bricks and Brit Bricks, who have a wealth of knowledge in the animation space, I have a couple of animations to share that were selected by them for their importance and significance, whether it's one that they just watched and really sort of felt were impactful to them, or one that sort of did something new and creative. So we've got a couple here to take a look at. I'm going to have clips, of course, to them in the background, and I also have a couple that was submitted by some of you. So first up here, what you're seeing is a animation by Dineria, which is a 3D animation, but this 3D animation isn't just like a normal Blender one. This is actually been rebuilt from his original version from back in 2012, like 10 years ago when this was made in 2020. Again, there'll be a link to this video in the description, and the original version was something that was inspiring to many of our current builders to get into Lego Zelda stop motion. It tells a story of a link to the past and brings to life the scenes from that game in incredible Lego detail, really. It's a shame that we don't have the original, at least I couldn't track down the original stop motion, as that was the one that was actually inspiring. But here we see the 3D animation and the legacy not only for the original creator, but in what impact it left on Brickwizard Studios, who cites it as an inspiration for what ultimately led him to making a Lego Zelda stop motion. The next one as well, though, is also cited as a big inspiration for him, and that is Mad Bricks Motion. This is a classic and one of the earliest Zelda stop motions that we can find or regularly associate with. I remember watching this one back in the day. And for most of the Zelda community, it is the OG story, the original. It used to come out in episodes and come back and tells an original story from the Zelda series, but is inspired in so many ways by what came. So using Zelda as more of a paintbrush to tell your own fantasy stories is just so inspiring. We also have Mindblatzer 80's Zelda 1 inspired stop motion, which is 12 years old now and a huge part of Lego Zelda inspiration. In fact, even for me as well, this one was one of the first animations when I came onto the platform. And this one features some really great details, such as block puzzles, jumping the canyon on a horse, so many little Zelda moments that are so recognizable and pleasing to fans. And again, all three of these linked in the video. We also have the Suck My Brick series, which is again another one which goes back a long way, based off Ocarina of Time, but taking it more comically. I'm shocked that this series was never finished, but the first 3 episodes were really impressive and inspiring as well. I really like what was going on here, and of course just taking from different games and showing the undying aspect of Zelda and how it just keeps on inspiring the next generation and into being creative, and this perfect synergy between the two to tell these stories, or being inspired by the stories and then using Lego as a medium to tell your own. We haven't really touched on the animations that aren't Zelda animations, but wouldn't exist without the Legend of Zelda franchise. I'm rambling. Our next one up is actually Brickwizard himself. He doesn't necessarily know I'm doing this, but his stop motion videos in more recent times have been absolutely huge. With about 25,000 views overall, his Lego Breath of the Wild stop motion series is almost becoming a recent classic. But yeah, no, it's a really special series that's taking those aspects from the newer game, making great use of the music and some really smooth animation to tell his story in a unique way. Stop motion artists are incredibly talented, and I'm sure that they are all excited to get hold of these new parts. However, these animators wouldn't be able to do their work without their builds, and both Brickwizard and Hylian Bricks and so many other people have taken either inspiration or had to come up with their own purist solutions to make these iconic characters come across in brick form. A suggestion from BitBricks highlighted Aiden Macleod's character building video, which goes through a series of instructions on how to build the iconic characters from the game. And I hesitate to guess that many of you have come across this video and actually used it to design your own characters. And then another inspiration, as we already saw in this video, is of course Hylian Bricks' large collection of IRL builds, with which he has kindly sent me an image for today. Taking a look at this, you can see just this huge variety of builds, which we already saw Alejandro take inspiration from as well. Let's take a quick closer look at this one and see what he's got on show. We have some larger builds along the back, such of course as Hyrule Castle Sanctum, sort of a stage backdrop for Akala Citadel to go in the backdrop, along with Sheikah Towers, of which I believe he has 2 or 3 in different scales. Of course, one of his favourite things is the dragons here, which of course we have Light Dragon, Farosh, Nadra and Dinral, and then of course the Demon Dragon, of course the Calamity actually around the top. You can also see Colgera floating around, but also some more obscure ones. I see Bubble Frog in there, along with all 4 divine beasts, of course Melania, the Horse God, and even King Dorothin, Stalnoxes, Hinoxes, a Flux Construct in there, Boss Bokoblin, a like, everything down right until the small stuff as well. I can see Gibdos, which actually have swords stuck in through their ribs, which is really, really cool. And actually you can see right down at the bottom a Korok balloon puzzle, which is awesome. I see Wizrobes and things. But anyway, you could stare at images like this all day. If you want to know more about Hylian Bricks' ongoing animation, Hyrule Champion, of which I lend my voice talent, I highly recommend checking out his channel to see these builds and even find potential tutorials for how to build some of these Zelda characters using all purest parts that you happen to have on hand. And if you're looking for updates for his animation, Hyrule Champion Part 4, he has an active Discord server where they regularly go over and discuss different aspects of the animation and Zelda as a whole. I also had an animation submitted to me by the wonderful Pulse Animate, which features Link attacking a Bokoblin base. The animation here is really, really smooth and makes great use of some purist builds that he has put together. I personally, although it's not like 100% accurate because no purist ever is, I have a real soft spot for his Champion Leathers Link. I think it looks amazing and really shows a really creative lesson in colour blocking for how to make these characters stand out even with incorrect prints and details and things, which is absolutely awesome. It does an amazing job with his animation and choosing just a moment that we can all relate to from Breath of the Wild as well for the subject of this animation is really creative. We also have not quite an animation, but some wonderful drawings that were done for us as well. These are submitted down by Bokoblin Boy, who is a very talented minifigure drawer and artist who's done some sketches for us today and also submitted a build. These are more almost concept sketches, not so much for animation, but for what Zelda molds and other aspects could look like as you could imagine them in sets, and is some way similar to what we end up doing or how I prepare for the CSS. However, these ones look a lot better, at least in my opinion. You can see one here for the Korok mast, which has a description of how it sits on the head, being a new mould, but just sort of attaches over the top of minifigure head, which you can see just beneath with the torso. It's incredibly detailed, and I think a print we would all like to see, or a mould I should say. We have his take on the Moblins, a highly controversial one in the CSS, but here it is using the avatar arms and legs and a moulded head similar to a Bokoblin. And he's got the Lego spear piece as well. But again, these drawings are really, really great for freehand Lego minifigure drawings. They're incredible. We also have this front on Lizalfos here, very similar to what we've done here, with a new headpiece, printed arms, printed legs, and a bow as well. Very cool. And then we have a Windmaker Link, which he's highlighted the need for alternate heads similar to what they do in Friends sets to show all those different expressions and get that characteristics across in the minifigure, such as one for conducting, being tired, annoyed, and then of course a smiling one. He's given a new piece for the Wind Waker as well, and the plastic skirt piece, which actually then appeared in the Deku Tree set, which is a cool little thing that would tie it all together. Of course, in the name he has a soft spot for Bokoblin, so here you can see the Bokoblin, and this is another high quality drawing with that wonderful moulded head, some dual moulded arms with printing for the arm wraps, and we've got the Caveman Club here as well. We've also got a drawing from Malin, who is got the milk accessory using a pin holder and then a Lego minifigure head with the printing on it, which is great, and she's featuring a new headpiece which looks awesome, and then of course even a custom printed horse for Epona. Some fantastic drawings. I was so stunned by how amazing these look. Not that I didn't expect amazing things to be submitted, but I really like that sketchy style, so that's really, really cool to see. And his channel will be linked down in the description as well. So, back to build. These next few aren't submitted by you guys, but they are some of my personal biggest inspirations. A lot of them didn't get as much attention as some of the more famous Zelda builds, but I personally wouldn't be here doing this today, and the CSS certainly wouldn't be here without these people. So, starting us off with our earliest inspiration, I've featured these on the channel today, but these are some Skyward Sword ideas submissions. These were submitted very early on ideas. It has to have at least been a decade ago, and I'll tell you how I know that in a minute. But they featured the Lane Mining Facility and the Farronwood Tree. There were also other builds like Koloktos and Skoldera that also heavily featured on ideas, or at least to me, but these are the two I want to highlight. Not just because I personally love the playset style they were going for with the rearrangeable aspects and all of the features and how well they translated these Skyward Sword locations, not to mention with Skyward Sword being my favourite, I had a natural affinity to them, but the Lane Mining Facility even had a pixelized 8-bit Link reference on the floor pattern that just looks like dirt from any other angle. But I unfortunately have to sort of sell the mood today and just share my sort of heartbreak at the fact that these builds have been removed from LEGO Ideas. Yes, they are expired submissions and they have passed their decade limit, meaning that the images and recollection of these models is now lost and only held by well, me and a select other few people that can memorize it. Amongst all the wonderful builds we're seeing today, and in the wake of the tree, I'd like to ask a quick favour. If any of you have the images or can find the images for me, not just the one but the other of them, please email them to me at octane.thermoplastic@gmail.com. It should be in the description. If not, just leave me a comment and I'll let you guys know. But please, I'm really looking to save these 2 mocks in particular, the ones that you're seeing these very low quality photos for them. Once I have the photos, I'm going to try my best to recreate them in studio so that we can have a permanent record, because while we lose probably hundreds of mocks every year, I'm absolutely devastated that these ones that were so close and so crucial and sort of inspired my love for Lego Zelda playsets are gone. And no, I was devastated when collecting the footage for this video, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't save them sooner. And it's lucky that we have even these 1 images, because while there are a couple of these floating around, I may have the highest quality versions of these because I have them in an old video presentation. So please, I beg you, if anyone cares about this channel at all or about Lego Zelda history, please try and find these images for me. I've absolutely tried my best, but I can't dedicate any more time to it. I really want to find them so that I can put in the effort and save these models forever. But yeah, we're in this sad segment now, but please, looking for help there. Another, of course, build, and this one definitely did get a lot of attention. This was Joseph Zawada's Hyrule Castle based off Twilight Princess that was featured at Brook Fair, Virginia in 2015, and we actually did an interview with Joseph Zawada in the lead up to this tree earlier this month. So check that out if you're interested in hearing all the behind the scenes stories from him. But his castle was absolutely incredible and a huge inspiration for pretty much everyone in the Lego Zelda space. Similarly, the first Ideas project to reach 10k, this was Wes Talbot's Iron Knuckle. Wes Talbot, of course, then went on to design the Lego Ideas Great Deku Tree set, and it's really a full circle moment. I've had the pleasure of building the Iron Knuckle encounter in real life in the past, and I cannot attest to a more well-designed mock. It's very clear why he's a set designer, because that mock reeks of 2012-2013 Lord of the Rings in just the best way possible. Such a joy to put together, such a staple of the community. Its artwork is still used today, and was a huge inspiration for the CSS box art and everything going forward. It truly is one of the most influential mocks on my life, and again, had a lot of credit and a lot of attention at the time, but this isn't just about that. This is just about the ones that are important to me. Another one that was really underrated is Wind Waker map by Bristlesprout that recreates the Great Sea chart but in 3D. This was just really cool. This was an LD deal build, it wasn't actually an ideas submission, but I just absolutely adore how it looks. Each of the sections are detachable, so in theory you could rearrange them or remove certain sections if you haven't discovered them, but the microscale detailing that is so tiny and minuscule but so recognizable is just incredible. And while some of these parts definitely don't exist in this color, I've actually been able to recreate this one as well to save it for posterity's sake, and I actually have a file for it. So yeah, I think this one goes overlooked and is just a fantastic Zelda mock. We also have another one. Okay, some of these got a lot of attention, and this one is the Hammer's Yellow First stable, not the one that's unrebrickable, although that is also an impressive model, and I'm talking about the original one, the one that then got stolen for the knockoff companies to produce. But regardless, the Hammer's Yellow First submission back in 2018, I want to say, reached 10k on Lego Ideas, and is probably the single most influential project on getting me to start the CSS. While this project would come out and I remember voting on it, I remember specifically making a new Ideas account to do it because my old one wasn't eligible for some reason when Ideas changed from Cusco to Ideas. Anyway, long story short, without voting on this project and seeing it get to 10k, and remember waking up on the day that the vote results got done and eagerly going, is it going to be the time that they accept this project, after playing Breath of the Wild and loving Breath of the Wild, and this model's so good and so detailed as well. I actually have a digital file for this one as well. No, I don't think I would have started this crusade without seeing this 10k submission. Less than a set, but we also have a Noah R's figure series. It's series 1, 2, and recently his Tears of the Kingdom series. Again, series 1 and 2 were influential in getting me into drawing figures and getting me started on making my own custom sets based off what he was able to put together and that figure style. He truly did represent modern Lego Zelda for a while, and I really do appreciate the design to use. They're just incredible figures, and I really love his art style, and again, huge inspiration to me personally, and I think they go underlooked these days as a key stepping stone for the community. We also have the Lego Maniac sword puzzle box, which originally featured on Rebrickable as well. This one's just cool. It's just Zelda related, but it's really neat how all the puzzles work and how many references to the game series are in there as well. Specifically like the bombable section and the key and the Triforce obviously as well, but the fact that the Master Sword is like the final lock, it's just a really awesome model. I've had the pleasure of building this one myself as well. It's really, really neat, really, really clever. Not obviously heavily Zelda related, but it is, so I appreciate it here a lot. We have this very small one here by Brick Gallery. This is a water temple model that was, I believe, featured on Ideas at one point, and it's very, very small, only featuring 2 rooms, but again, it's taking that dungeon concept that we looked at Brickshelf, we looked at the models on Brickshelf for, and has a representation of Morpheel using the Paleontier, and it just shows you how creative you can get with limited parts to represent these iconic moments, and also again shows the potential of dungeon systems. And I do think back to this one sometimes, alongside the West Knuckling Hamter and so many other builds, when I think about the dungeon building system for the CSS and what that's supposed to mean and how we got to this point. And again, this is another really small model that probably goes overlooked as being fairly simplistic, but I love to bits. I think it captures the Zelda essence so well. And then of course another tentpole of the community over the last decade was of course the Lego Zelda. Here I'm choosing to feature his Ice Enemy Battle Pack. Not only does it share a name as a direct reference to, as a direct homage that I paid to him in Wave 2 with my Ice Battle Pack, but this again shows you the concept of a Zelda custom set, years before we would do it here. I just love the size, that small £10 set feel is just, it's electrifying to capture actually. I really like it. So yeah, here's a Lego Zelda model for you as a huge inspiration for myself. But just to end off this section, I also have a couple of builds that I really want to talk about, but couldn't find a heading that I wanted to fit them under. So these are just really cool builds that I appreciate and I want to spread some love to. So first up, we have Dr. Brickhead. He has been an amazing brickhead artist on Rebrickable for years and years now. But he has done many Zelda series ones, Majora's Mask, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, you know, all Minish Cap, yeah, he's pretty much done them all. And usually, of all the brickhead designs, I find myself going back to him for his a real knack for capturing style in a Lego form, but also in the Zelda style, and it just looks absolutely great. I plan on building most of his whenever I get the chance, but also I've learned so much about Lego and building and angles and bracket alignment from his builds. He's truly a wizard at the Lego geometry, and I credit him with a lot of my improvement in my building over the years. We also have this wonderful Lizalfos alternate build based off the 3-in-1 crocodile, also featured on Rebrickable by Bloody Pun. This is an amazing alt build that really uses the part selection in the crocodile very well, similar to Orophelia's Bokoblin that I featured in the last video we did like this a couple of years back. Both of these are amazing alternate builds from Creator 3-in-1s that capture their enemies particularly very well. Now the instructions are actually free for the Lizalfos, so again everything here is linked in the description, and I would highly recommend it if you have the set because I actually really enjoyed it. I did make a couple of alterations for stability and just colour swapping some certain things, but nothing major, and I just really liked how posable it was and how much it looked like a Lizalfos for an alternate build. It was really nice to see, and I really appreciated the build. It was really stable too. We have the Zelda 1 Tree Dungeon by Ragaru, who again is another prominent builder that's done, got to be 10 plus models over this time, and it's the Tree Dungeon from Zelda 1. I really like this one because it takes those 2D concepts that are only featured in sprite form and turns them into 3D models. Aquamentis here is incredible looking, specifically because you can open up the back and there's a heart container inside. That's awesome. Having the tree face recreated here and sort of these 3 sections is also really neat, and I do love the little build for the Octorok as well, but I'm just impressed by turning the 2D into 3D. We have Brickster's Link Sculpt from Breath of the Wild, which served as the basis and inspiration for my Skyward Sword one. This is another mock that obviously did very well in recent years, but again, it's just incredible looking. I really love the styling and the way they chose to capture the important details, but also maintain the style as well. We also have Kevin Hingle's Micro Link here. This is one that you probably haven't heard of. He used to be prominent in the community, but has since moved away from the hobby. He featured this build probably over a decade ago, but then the time I saw it was on a Creations for Charity live stream about the 4-hour mark or something. I can't remember which one. Anyway, he showed it for like 30 seconds and I reverse engineered it. It's really neat. It feels very Microlandish, like the builds you would see at Legoland theme park, so that's really cool. And of course I couldn't go this section without mentioning Brick 101 and his 8-bit Link, the Master Sword pair and Hylian Shield, along with the Loftwing as well. Again, some really iconic builds. But let's get back to the reason you guys are here, and that is your fabulous submissions. I want to take a moment now to talk about how scale really doesn't matter in building. A small, large, desktop or display, it's a token of your passion and a way to show interest in art and enthuse about what matters to you. Small builds are perhaps the most important and honestly some of my favourites. I go on and on about it in the comment section, but truly I do believe it. They are some of the best builds that we get to see. So let's take a look at the builds that I would count as small, and that's not an insult. So let's take a look. First here we have a build submitted by Tal. This is supposed to be obviously Breath of the Wild Link standing on the cliff face, very similar to his cover art, of course, from Breath of the Wild. Here you can see him facing forward, but I did also have a picture facing backwards, and we've had some really nice simple rock shaping that's been done here, really effectively using wedge plates and some snot techniques. It looks incredible. As far as purist links go, this one's pretty good, as it's got the right hairpiece that sort of comes to a bow at the back, and a very, very good colour blocking. You can see this one's definitely been put on display and is well loved, hence all the dust, so you can tell this is pride in place and showing Tal's passion for the Zelda series. I love that we've got a little bit of colour in there with the leaves as well, but mostly I just think that the wedge plate shaping is really fantastic with this build. Next up we have one submitted by That Zelda Nerd. This features the iconic Master Sword in pedestal, using the common technique of using the epaulets piece in blue and some grey columns that stick into a stud. This is very a nice build to This is a very achievable build using common parts around the house, and yet still shows that love of Legend of Zelda in many ways. I also really appreciate that we have a silent princess there and that we've cobbled the path leading up to the front. That's fantastic looking. We have Bokoblin Boy's physical submission here, which is supposed to be Kado's Cocoa Hut from Breath of the Wild. We've got a great purist Kado here, it's instantly recognisable. We've got the chicken build here as well, featuring 3 different chickens. I spot Camilla from the Muppet CMF in there as well. And he's got a bow piece as well for Sheikah Heritage and a knife to, I hope, not cut up the chickens. Maybe that's just for his guard duties. But either way, it looks fantastic. It's very, very Zelda. Next up, we have a submission from Bryson, who built us a wonderful King of Red Lions, which is actually posed very dynamically. It's a nice and big King of Red Lions, which is pretty uncommon in the space these days. It was something that happened a lot back in the day. And we've even got this dynamic shot of this space helmet, which is representing a bomb being launched out of the cannon. You can see here that his tunic is using the Ninjago Lloyd piece to represent his lovely blonde hair, and he's got his short legs using some rounded elements as well. But I think my favourite thing about this King of Red Lion is the angles, as when he's not posed on these, even when he's not posed on these waves, which is also looking incredible, you've got the sides of the boat are actually done about 45 degrees, which allows you to have the tan interior and make it more boat shaped. It's definitely a step up because of the step up in scale. I also particularly like the different shades of blues being used to represent the symbol on the sail. I think that looks really creative, and the face of the King of Red Lions is really well realised. But I also particularly like that he took the effort to pose it on those waves. I know I just mentioned it, but I think it adds a lot to the model. From Roger Mollett, we have a Kakariko Village house here featuring Link and a Poe. I really like the parts used for the Poe. I think it captures that enemy very, very well. And of course, that classic Kakariko style has been well realised here in digital form. Specifically using, of course, those red roof colours and that half timber style. You can see we've even got room for an interior that I'm sure he will develop at some point. We also have a physical submission from Pulse featuring some of the builds that obviously were showcased in his animation, but these ones are also from his Tears of the Kingdom lineup. We have Yunobo and Daruk, who make great use of the masonry brick element in reverse to create some detail on their face and that kind of rocky texture. They're both lovely and chunky and feature some really large boulder breakers and cobble crushers. We have Mipha and Sidon here. Mipha, of course, using a cloth piece here for her champion's robe, and of course they both have their tridents, and I like Sidon's armor piece as well. It makes it really stand out. We have our Gerudo reps with Riju and Urbosa here with her shield looking fantastic, and then we also have the 2 links from both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You can see again that I mentioned how much I love the champion's levers here, instantly recognisable despite obviously having that Black Firecrown logo, and his use of the Hylian shield using the pentagonal tile and then of course the new Barbarian sword from Series 25 is really inspired. We also have Zelda here from Tears of the Kingdom outfit. So we have her in her sealing dress here, firing her magic. She's even looking a little beaten up there. I kind of wish they had a plaster on her in the game, that's funny. And her cave outfit here with her cape as well, looking amazing. And then of course we even have the Demon King Ganondorf, again using that inspired use of the Oni faces from Ninjago to recreate the red lines on his face. It's a really clever part usage that works really, really well. My favourite though from the ones he submitted to me is Pen. I think it's a character that we haven't seen many builds of yet, and looks really, really good. Beyond that, we have like the sort of shaping of the side pieces, and then the use of the binoculars for the goggles really captures what this character needs to show to convey that it's Pen without obviously having a custom molded bird head. The satchel is a nice little touch, and then making great use of the Winter Soldier torso, and of course the Eris legs from Chima as well to get the job done. We also have a quick little shot of the paraglider here. Very awesome build. I hope that you be able to use these in many ways. Now, we could not do this kind of video without mentioning the models that we wouldn't be here without. These ones are going to be the 10k submissions that thrived on LEGO Ideas. 8 projects reached this milestone. I mean, technically 9 reached 10k because Brick Gallery submitted his Hyrule Castle to 10k twice, but that's still more than 80,000 votes from people who believed the institution of Zelda works in brick form. So let's take a quick look at these builds that were the face of LEGO Zelda. Now, it's very hard to tell which of these came first, but around 2013 we know we had West Halbert's Iron Knuckle Encounter, which we previously discussed is a fantastic model, and Regaru's The Legend of Zelda project inspired by Twilight Princess. These two were definitely as the earliest more conceptual. Wes even managed to submit sort of concept like sketches for prints and new molds and so on with his model, and Regaru had a 3D animation, which again incredibly inspiring to so many animators and set designers, but also featured like concepts for sets, but also more so just the idea about Legend of Zelda should be in Lego, don't care what it looks like, and I can honestly respect that. We already mentioned Regaru actually as well, which is fantastic. We also have Mingle's The Legend of Zelda project, which features Ocarina of Time's ending battle, which also featured a wide range of concept sketches as well, which is kind of crazy. But this is specifically Ganon's organ as well. Again, another one that's very familiar to people that have been around a long time. A year later or so, we had Flalix's The King of Red Lions playset. Huge inspiration again for me, I think, as well, this one, featuring islands from the Great Sea and warships and King of Red Lions, of course, and a Chew as well, looking absolutely awesome. And then we wouldn't see any for a little bit, as it wouldn't be until 2017 that we would then see, or 2018 I should say, Hand with Yellow First Breath of the Wild stable, inspired and rejuvenated by the franchise now going strong. Of course, there are many ideas submissions in between there, and I just can't feature them all today, but Hand with Yellow First Breath of the Wild stable rejoined the fray in 2018. This was shortly followed by the Brick Gallery Hyrule Castle submission, and then that would be resubmitted later on. This is an incredible model. As far as display Hyrule Castle goes, this is the best one. Just period. This is the best Hyrule Castle for display, and really captures the sanctum incredibly well. We also have Artem Bazayativ's Hyrule Castle. I butchered that, I'm so sorry, which sort of culminated all different Legend of Zelda aspects together into this one really creative playset. And while I really appreciate the idea of bringing everything together in one playset, the execution of this one did frustrate me just slightly because there's lots and lots of pieces that don't exist, and the use of a raised base plate is controversial. But as far as the idea goes, and that is all that LEGO Ideas is about, I really love the concept of merging all these iconic moments into one, such as the cuckoo huts with the Minish cap of all things, the gossip stones, bombable walls, the fairy fountain, Ganon taking over the castle, all so creative. Just a shame it couldn't really exist in the modern ecosystem without extreme changes. And then of course we also have the most recent one, which was Lego Overwatch's Temple of Time, which reached 10k. This is an incredible Temple of Time model, as we discussed just a couple of weeks ago. It truly does capture that model. It's very hyper detailed, which is a really interesting technique to go for, and is just another great display model. But these were all the 10k projects that we had. Sometimes though, LEGO and Zelda is the brush, the medium for wider aspiration and an influence or an architect's plans to paint a bigger picture. Some of you sent me some projects like this as well. First, we have a model that takes some inspiration, at least, from the LEGO diorama collection, and this was submitted by Greatest Guy That Ever Was, whose YouTube channel will be in the description. This build is based off Tears of the Kingdom, naturally, and features yet another light dragon, but not just a light dragon this time. Instead, it has this incredible looking base with it, which features the scene where Link views the final memory. What an impactful moment translated into diorama form, and truly deserving of the diorama as well, which is the whole point of this line. Not only is his light dragon absolutely fantastic looking, making great use of Ninjago banner elements around the eyes and golden leaf elements to go for a slightly more chibified look, which is absolutely necessary at this scale, it's completely different to the other light dragon that we took a look at earlier in the video. He has again used flame pieces in blue from the Minecraft line to recreate the toes here, which works perfectly at this scale, and the mane is so recognizable with this really lovely curvy technique using wedge plates. I can really believe him when he said this took months to design. My personal favorite detail from this model though has to be the pool of water where you pick up the memory. Link has his eyes closed of course, but the water and the ripples within has been recreated using the LEGO Dimensions toy tag. What inspired nice part usage. That's so creative. I love it. Not to mention you've got this field of silent princesses around it, which look incredible. This one took me by surprise for sure, and I really think that it was definitely worth the budget and time that Greatest Scarlet was put into it. And I hope that maybe it is featured on the channel at some point in the future. Next up, we have one from PB Builds, who also built in the diorama style. And again, PB Builds YouTube will be featured down below, who has made a video on this as well. And this is another diorama style based off Breath of the Wild, this time featuring a Guardian attacking Link in mid-flight on the paraglider, and everything here is super detailed. We've got a Bokoblin in the back in a brick built form that's instantly recognizable, with a ruins section and a creek that flows across the model. I like how the Triforce has been recreated at the front of the model here, which only works at this smaller scale using the corner wedge triangles, which works really well when you can't use those big triangle pieces. And for the Guardian body, what strikes me as different from this one compared to obviously we see a lot of Guardians is how flush the octagonal shape is, making great use of hinge plates and ball joints to hide almost every gap. Again, we've got that iconic mix of dark bluish grey, tan and trans pink to recreate the Malicey look, and of course you've got Link flying in on those transparent stand pieces, which you guys know I love, as he gets shot in the air. Separate from this though, PB Builds has also built the Ocarina of Time logo out of brick built form, which is not something I've seen done before at this scale. Usually it's done on like a pixel art scale, but the sword actually here is really creative and I really like the lettering. Again, instantly recognizable. We also have a larger submission here from Courageous Bricks, who I'm saying big thanks to because he sent me these before they are finished. Courageous Bricks is embarking on its own series of custom sets based off Breath of the Wild to celebrate the Deku Tree's launch, and has sent me a couple of images of what they look like, or the finished one that he's done so far, so I will do my best to walk you through them now. So the first set in the Sidon one is the Bokoblin Camp, and this features of course 4 Bokoblins, 3 red ones and 4 blue, with a whole bunch of accessories. We've got rupees and apples and roasted food, clubs and weapons for them, as well as some arrows, and a brick built version of the monster chest, which I believe can be opened. But the camp build goes further than this, having 2 explosive barrels, a campfire, a log for them to sit on, as well as meat roasting on the fire, and the Archer Tower featuring some lovely prints that he's done in Parts Designer. We also feature 2 crates here which are hollow to put stuff in so they can be smashed, and I'm pretty sure this takes inspiration from Z037 Hinox Attack, which is a feature that we featured there, so I'm really glad that was of use to you. And then one set that's not quite complete yet is set, as he's calling it, ZBW 310. This is the Shrine of Resurrection, which is yet to be finished because it will have the second room, but currently features the removable water above the waterbed so that Link can be put into sleep, the Sheikah Slate pedestal, and some wonderful texturing on the floor to get all of those designs down for the Sheikah swirly patterns. This one features the old man, Link in the Hylian trousers but also in his Sheikah shorts, a Stalkoblin, some mushrooms, apples, and a Korok as well. And the apparatus above the Shrine of Resurrection's roof has been incredibly recreated too. So great start to this model, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this project goes. Maybe it'll even get posted on YouTube one day, but if not, maybe we'll feature it again on the channel at some point. And then the last build that you guys submitted for me today comes from Carol Laura, a long-time commenter, yeah, this one is really taking Lego Zelda in a different direction, and I'm glad this was a nice opportunity to get this project started for you. Let's take a quick look. So this build looks a little bit different to what we've seen and has the name Dongero's Frog Chorus. Now this build is laid out like a theme park because Carol Laura has a long-term vision for a Legend of Zelda sort of theme park, and we're using the Lego medium here to try and sort of plan out different aspects and think about different concepts, but also just have a fun Lego model in a Zelda style that's very different from other stuff we've seen. So, thinking of this like an expansion to Universal or to a Disney park, but just all Zelda themed, this represents a small interactive part of the Zora's Domain section, and it's sort of almost like a carnival game. We've got 4 people here standing and playing the game, and by jumping on the colour-coded pressure pads represented underneath their feet, they make the 5 animatronic frogs that are on the hollow rock in the pond start hop and sing and spray water and stuff. So it's an interactive experience that actually reminds me of the new Moana experience at Disney's Epcot, but obviously Zelda themed. I like this idea because the Dongero's choir is sort of an underrepresented thing, but spraying kids with water is really like fun at theme parks, right? So the idea that you jump and sort of make them do their little song from Majora's Mask is really cute. We've of course got this wonderful pond reed build, which we have at the back with the brush reeds at the back and the big tree overhanging. You've got the frogs on the log. I can see we've got the white, pink, green, yellow, and then the red one's just a little bit obscured there. But the theming doesn't stop there, because obviously that's in the animatronic pen, but on the human side you've also got this wall, which is very cleverly themed after the Great Bay Wall that we see in Majora's Mask that Link jumps over on Epona, which is just really cute attention to detail, and I really love that that is being considered here, because you're right, if we're basically making a micro-scale version of a Zelda theme park, then all those details matter, and you know that Miyamoto would be on it. Our figures also have some details here, where they've clearly been into the merchandise. I have a note that says that Dad might be a little bit more into Mario, but the rest of the family are all very big Zelda fans. We clearly have some merch picked up here with a Wind Waker baton and a princess tiara, and then some rubber Link ears and a toy Master Sword. As a side note, I'll also point out that my Sig fig for the longest time used that Vitruvian torso, so I like to imagine that, even though it's not intentional, that this is Octane visiting the theme park as well. I'm very, very excited to see where this project goes, and while I understand that it will be a big endeavour, I've heard rumourings that there might be a park map or just some more sketch models to do, so I'm very glad that this is the start of this project, and it's such a creative use of both Lego Zelda medium to combine it to yet another interest, while getting to do some fun Zelda builds out of Lego form, and I really love how much passion and detail went into it as well. So very, very cool to see. So here we are. Lego and The Legend of Zelda are a perfect match. Storytelling, adventure, creativities, puzzles, action, colour and courage. Values and themes shared by these brands alongside so much synergy that brings them together. And now, after knowing that they would fit together so well, just like Lego bricks themselves, it is happening. While I hope this is the first of many sets, and playsets featuring all the games are to follow, it matters not, because the limitless potential of this partnership is inspiring, has inspired you guys, and I'm sure that we're about to be joined by many more people that feel that way too, now that the Deku Tree reaching a wider audience. It has never felt more prudent to mark this moment with a reminder of what I set out to do with the custom sets on this channel. It's never been about the builds, the figures, or the art or the realism. It's about the ideas. A what if? What's possible? What can I create? But scratch that. What can I encourage you to create? And now I state this message to you, whether you buy the tree or not, whether you're a fan of the games or not. What can you create? What do these fantastical worlds inspire? You need only look at the creations you've seen today to see the passion and excitement for Lego Zelda that comes from Lego Zelda. I honestly lament that I can only feature about 1% of what we as a community have created in the last 20 plus years, and that what was shown today was so limited or small. But I'm glad that so many of you reached out and shared builds and art for this video. So let's keep creating, sharing, supporting, loving and growing as we come together for the dawn of a new day in the Lego Zelda space. I really struggled to put into words what Zelda is to me, to explain why it matters and why I wanted to make this video, to tell you why this matters. I think we all have our reasons, and we keep it special in our own ways. It's so hard to articulate what this means. So, just like a steward construct from the hit video game Tears of the Kingdom, I will watch and tend, encourage your creativity and protect the history of what you have made. These projects that could be lost to time or forgotten, as we've seen today. We can protect it by remembering it, paying homage to it, and being inspired by it, big or small, because no one person is Lego Zelda. Instead, Lego Zelda is you, and you, and you, and you. Lego Zelda is us.